Madame Uduak was a woman of class, elegance, and power. Living in one of the highbrow areas of Lagos, her house stood tall, surrounded by trimmed hedges and security gates that opened only to the elite. A successful fashion entrepreneur, she had built her empire with fierce determination, but also at a personal cost. Years ago, she had lost her only daughter during a chaotic market incident. Despite endless searching and police efforts, the child was never found. The wound remained buried beneath her designer clothes and polished smiles. Life moved on. Her mansion buzzed daily with staff, drivers, cooks, security men, and maids. Madame Uduak didn't suffer nonsense, especially not from domestic workers. To her, they were necessary tools, nothing more. One rainy Tuesday morning, a new girl arrived. She was barely 18, skinny, with shy eyes and a quiet spirit. Her name was Ino. Brought in by an agent, she had no credentials, just a small nylon bag and a plea to work. The agent promised she was trustworthy and obedient. That was enough for Madame Uduak. She needed someone to scrub toilets and wash clothes. Ino curtsied, her eyes lowered as Madame inspected her. "You'll do," Madame Uduak said coldly. "Don't steal, don't talk too much, and don't stand idle, or you'll see pepper." Ino nodded quickly, murmuring, "Yes, ma." That night, as she swept the marble floors, Ino passed by the grand hallway where a photo hung, a portrait of a woman carrying a baby. She paused for a moment. Something about the baby's face struck her. But before she could think too long, Madame's voice thundered, "You think this is a gallery? Get moving." Ino rushed off. What neither of them knew was that fate had just reopened a door that had been locked for 16 years. And the truth? It was about to tear everything apart. From the moment Ino began her work in the mansion, life became a silent test of survival. Madame Uduak was harsher than she appeared during the first meeting. Any tiny mistake, missing a spot on the floor, forgetting to iron a wrapper properly, or serving cold water instead of room temperature, was met with scolding, sometimes even slaps. The other staff kept their distance from Ino. Madame's rage often rubbed off on them, and they avoided befriending the new girl. The head maid, Mama Rock, often snapped at Ino, "You better learn fast." Madame Node joked with rubbish. Ino remained calm. She took the insults, the beatings, the long hours. But inside, something stirred, memories she couldn't fully grasp. Flashes of a woman's voice singing lullabies, the smell of a warm kitchen, and the feeling of being loved. None of it matched the cruelty she now endured. One day, while cleaning Madame's bedroom, Ino stumbled upon an old drawer filled with photographs. She paused when she saw a baby picture tucked beneath a pile. The baby wore a small pink bracelet, the same type she had tucked away in her own bag since she was little. Her mother, her real mother, had told her she wore it when she was a baby, before they were separated during a fire in Onitsha years ago. Suddenly, Madame Uduak burst in. "What are you doing in my drawer?" she shouted. "I was dusting." "I didn't touch anything," Ino stammered. "Liar. You're like the rest, snooping. You better pray I don't sack you today." Ino bowed, muttering apologies, but inside, her thoughts ran wild. That bracelet, the photo, could it mean something? Madame Uduak had no clue that the girl standing in front of her, trembling with fear, was the same child she had cried over for more than a decade. And now, fate had placed them under the same roof, one desperate for belonging, the other blinded by pain. Ino couldn't sleep that night. She lay on the hard mattress in the cramped staff quarters, staring at the pink bracelet she had hidden all her life. The same kind as the one she saw in the photo earlier in Madame Uduak's drawer. Her mother, her real mother, had told her it was the only thing she had left after the fire that tore their lives apart. She always thought one day she would find her mother again, but never had she imagined that woman would be her boss, the same woman who treated her like dirt. The next morning, something strange happened. While helping arrange Madame's bookshelf, a worn leather album slipped out from the top shelf and hit the floor. It opened to a picture of Madame Uduak, much younger, glowing, and in her arms was a baby wearing the exact same bracelet Ino had. Her hands trembled. The urge to speak the truth bubbled in her chest, but fear silenced her. What if Madame Uduak didn't believe her? What if she chased her away like trash? Later that evening, Ino lingered around the kitchen when she overheard a conversation between Madame Uduak and her lawyer. They were talking about an old case, how Madame lost her daughter in a market fire years ago. I've searched everywhere, Madame said with a sigh. Hospitals, orphanages, even went to a pastor. Nothing. I just want to know if she's alive, even if she hates me. Ino's heart almost stopped. Her eyes widened. So, it was true. All this while, Madame was her real mother. She looked up the stairs where Madame had gone, her eyes filled with new tears, this time not from pain, but from shock, anger, and a longing that words couldn't explain. Could she ever tell her? Would she ever be accepted? For now, she stayed quiet. But the truth was growing louder with every passing day. Ino had never felt more torn. Every time Madame Uduak shouted at her, something inside her ached, not with anger, but sadness. The woman she had dreamed of all her life. The one she thought would embrace her was right here, yet she treated her like nothing. But Ino needed proof. She couldn't accuse a woman like Madame Uduak without solid evidence. So she made a bold move. One morning while cleaning Madame's bathroom, Ino quietly slipped a used hairbrush into her apron. Her heart pounded with guilt, but desperation fueled her. That night, she reached out to a nurse she met at the church clinic who offered to help her get a DNA test quietly. It took 3 weeks of waiting. Each day felt like a year. During that time, something began to shift in Madame Uduak. One afternoon, she caught Ino crying in the backyard. The woman stared at her quietly, then walked away without a word. But the next day, she left a plate of food for Ino, something she'd never done before. Maybe she was beginning to sense something. Then the test result came. Positive. 99.9% match. Ino dropped to the ground when she saw it. She was right. Madame Uduak was her real mother. Her heart screamed to run into her arms, to shout the truth, but her legs refused to move. How do you tell a woman who sees you as a pest that you're her blood? Later that evening, while serving drinks during a family dinner, Madame's brother, Uncle Raymond, stared at Ino for a long time. Then he said softly, "This girl, she looks just like your late husband's sister." There's something about her. Madame Uduak brushed it off. But now the truth was out, at least to Ino. And she knew. Hiding it any longer would destroy her. Tomorrow, she would tell Madame everything. No more fear. No more silence. The morning sun rose with tension in the air. Ino held the DNA result in her trembling hands as she stood outside Madame Uduak's office. She had rehearsed the words all night. "Mama, I am your daughter." But saying it felt like jumping off a cliff. She knocked. "Come in," Madame Uduak said sharply, not even looking up. "You again? What do you want this time?" Ino stepped inside slowly, her eyes welling up. "Ma, I need to tell you something important." Uduak sighed. "What is it now?" With a shaky voice, Ino laid the envelope on her desk. "Please, just read this." Uduak gave her a confused look, then tore the envelope open. As her eyes scanned the DNA report, her face paled. She looked up, then back at the paper. Again, and again. "No, this can't be. This is a mistake." "It's not," Ino whispered. "I've been looking for you all my life. I didn't know how to tell you." Tears streamed down Uduak's face. "I was told my baby died in the hospital. They said you didn't survive." "I didn't die," Ino replied. "I grew up in a foster home. All I ever wanted was to know my mother." Madame Uduak stood, shaky and stunned. Slowly, she walked toward Ino. Then she broke. Falling to her knees, she hugged the girl she had yelled at, insulted, and overlooked for weeks. "My daughter. My baby. Oh God, what have I done?" she wept. Ino clung to her tightly. "It's okay, Mama. I forgive you." Outside the office, the staff whispered, shocked as they watched their iron-fisted boss cry like a child in the arms of the girl she once called useless. From that day, everything changed. Uduak publicly apologized to Ino and denounced the shocking truth to the company. She offered her daughter a position of leadership, But Eno asked for something more meaningful. She wanted to help young girls like herself, lost in the system. Together, they started a foundation. Mother and daughter, broken, reunited, and now stronger than ever. Because sometimes, fate has its own way of writing happy endings.